Okay, so like looking again right now for like the very beginning itself of like the last in the story when stand of running would be with like the entire peak of like never more like and that they all like the entire peak of students in like I know of totally seen straight away right now with like the elimination of like like on the point that the entire peak of like the students that like now more totally like straight away feeling that it was like that like Wednesday's like the help of them especially like Wednesday already uh, when look the moment even Wednesday showed up to like never more said like Wednesday having this like the home associated with like when Wednesday of like basically the takeout of like basically Martins I think in like the previous school like I don't such language like Wednesday already the moment Wednesday had came to like never more like the students even when the students even being already aware of like such a dark home associated with like Wednesday so definitely I'm looking that the situation of like around definitely like almost like the entire peak of like the students had like never more to straight away come down to like a person that like basically then state is like the culprit like put like the scenario that I'm like so the and the legal machines for like the whole like elimination like what might have happened might have been that Wednesday might have been in that stop of that situation and like at that point itself on the spring what might have happened might have been that probably might have by then might have managed to like spot and find Wednesday like in like that exact scene or that right in that situation look like Wednesday stand right in front of like the White House around like the scenario that I'm looking at. So at that point I'm looking like and that's still similar to that like that most of that saved Wednesday from like around and to calculate how one might definitely be favors the element so that say that it might be had like power to like transform and shape system to like this like dangerous and possible like the element particularly due to that the dark weapons in that like since it has been revealed that like basically it was due to it was like a one that was like the culprit in that as well. So definitely my preemption especially Saber might be having that also of like not only like the system transform power but like although like Caesar might be also having like higher observation my spouse as well might be the case that we make connections. It might be also the reason for like Caesar being able to like act in time back then and basically save Wednesday from like the falling to bar when schedule might be the case that back then like Caesar might have noticed that and seen Rowan that at that point, I might have seen that Rowan running away from like the top of like the building after like that garden that we had formed. Might have been like the case that name of the relation. Yet like back then like Sega might have decided to that let go and like that one like Rowan attack against the like for like a second time like it might be at that point that like Sega might have Xavier who might be secretly obsessed with like Wednesday and who might be only have that mental person like Wednesday like he's something like around like at that Wednesday a second time and when Wednesday's like being like that might have been that might have of the limit and like of like the line for like saver and that might be how it might have been a compliment, it might have been saved up, that might have been that movement, that might have taken off. It might have been like the case of but like during such scenarios, like in a storm, like after like the most of savior, left, like what might happen might have been that means like exactly like a person that exactly at that point itself that managed to like find when stand this the mind to intent of leads to the element of the friends then like people being might be secretly having that stringency and like the present towards like the entity of like having fun and might be secretly having that ultimate goal to like the score like the having family and sometimes behind path and be like the just limits the English so and like the reason trying to like for like you know or might be culprit might be beings and the things they might be content as well as like the characters like maybe like beings as like siblings or maybe like this. So that it might be the collective plot and plan to like eventually frame Wednesday and to Wednesday to like eventually once again like reopen that is connected to like the connected to like Wednesday like father like Rome and in like from like the past and that really like eventually bring down like tendency of like Sunday and put tendency like that. So in tendency like that is might be behind us might be like the ultimate realistic goal of like being center might be like is the minimum thing. But certainly continuous strength like the people it is only putting that Weems like basically on spotting Wednesday in front of like the taken of Rowan like Weems might have only seen that as like an absolute Weems simply might have seen that as like an absolute opportunity, and like Weems might have straight away shouted out and probably made that absolute scene. And since like all that things that took place near to that whole festival like kind of like situation like definitely Weems might have done all that and might have made the huge scene there, and basically and like that way like probably doing like Weems make so much of like scene like and the different that way Weems might have later on it like for those great number of people from like the festival towards that location that way, which might have happened quickly. And like at that point, that way, like almost like the entirety of like everyone attended at that festival, like might have probably seen like Wednesday standing in front of like the taken of roles might be like and be like shouting out in front of them. And so that might have been like what might have happened certainly them. So that way, like everyone that news might have certainly spread and like almost everyone in like that festival might have straight away assumed that Wednesday was like the culprit. Might have been what might have happened certainly them for them. So definitely the government they that or like the sheriff might have been reported, and like the sheriff might have quickly shown up to the crime scene and might have totally interrogated which they might have been Mr. Weems incident. So like to that interrogation like I'm from that like the sheriff might have asked not things not only to like Wednesday but also to like being the swing so like that aspect steps might have from that aspect predicting to that increase like the steadily increase like the already uh, existing experience of vision of like which are connected to Wednesday and like that is definitely one trend. Like links might have done that and like go that interrogation I can connect sure might have straight away that on investigating that experiences that sure might have also been straight away in a suggested way might have been straight away feeling that like on certain that like Wednesday definitely was like is like the culprit even while the investigator might have been what might have happened is definitely going to get during that interrogation of that Wednesday by like the church, it might have initially that like taken place in that crime scene itself might have been the case of in front of like a huge crowd of like the people person that like the film might have been like what might have happened in the so definitely for that interrogation that can also bring that what might have happened might have been that Wednesday might have done her activity just to like, convince like the sheriff about like this like monster but like at that point itself I'm something that the sure, straight away not believe that way. Repeatedly, but they might also just really trying to like convince that picture of like the of what had actually happened and about like the monster and everything. So definitely at that point, like the sheriff like the question of what had happened might have been like the sheriff like totally in a mock manner might have asked like the entirety of like the crowd as if like they seen like this like monster like that Wednesday the flame have seen. So like at that point, I'm looking that to that save Wednesday, like I'm looking like it might have been Tyler alone that might have straight away that Tyler definitely really down strongly feeling that like Wednesday is that by now with like the current levels of that friendship between like Tyler and the state that like Tyler would be by now would be strongly feeling that like Wednesday is not the realistic person might be the most experiment so like definitely Tyler at that point that will be lying to like which and basically will be like even though Tyler would have likely not known seen that and also like Tyler yeah that point then like will be lying to like cloud up and telling that the sheriff that he had seen like small stuff like running away. That scenario that is over. But like I'm from like those savior as well and that either most likely will be present among like the crowd like I'm talking bring a savior definitely due to according to my perception might have been say that that might actually be like an also kind of like favor only feeling insecure and afraid and so like savor not at that point that saying that like in a scene like amount of like open because that was one of the intervention and so the thing that the sort of thing like the crowd up to that when they had last seen that Wednesday as well as the whole. So like at that point I know like that a bunch of that from like, the crowd that saying that they had not seen Wednesday at like the festival and the case of like Rowan like that actually Rowan might have been last Rowan's like person that like the festival might have been invisible to guys. Uh, uh, to like the others might like the case definitely not be invasion. So like definitely because like definitely most likely Rowan might be uh like one of the few students in that normal it might be totally not what I was thinking at all. And you also the case definitely not the so definitely none absolutely none of the students or like anyone that focus might have not even notice like around or the like it might be that they and at that point I'm also like definitely tied up so definitely like to that like and basically to go along with that and like would be like to like other about like having seen Wednesday after like or in like the festival or like the scenario that I'm putting. But like at that point, I'm putting that if for like scenario to be like ways that totally and or dramatic manner like setting that up with fake acting and basically lying like and like, telling the story about like seeing Wednesday like people like Rowan doing like the festival or like seeing Wednesday run after like all in from like the festival. So we along the lines, I'm putting that we would have not actually seen any of that like with the other putting on that page and like and that falsely like testifying against like Wednesday to that thing that the judge at that point. That's also like any prosecution or that and also on the topic and my book for here like the fundamental from probably from like the self like from like while inflicting like the injuries from like around that and different like so to be also feeling like the possibility of that certainly it actually being like coming from attack. But like the conclusion that like stuff will become down to will be definitely like will be that the culture is still that it the culture will still be Wednesday that like Wednesday typically have some sort of like power which allows us to be able to like communicate like something like a theory and powerful more and that way, we was like that it was like when step up like that turned into this like more fun and then there are vehicles and they taken out on the along the lines of like the conclusion that like the stuff that is taken away coming down to it like the scenario that are different. Yet like things like the sheriff have no evidence something to like actual solid evidence something to like Wednesday being able to like transform into like, this monster like and definitely things like the church have not seen that like from that pressure that not being able to that vote against that file a case within that Wednesday and select so they will now that up. So definitely just at that point for like the Sarah to that totally straight away tell Weems to like totally the court to like the whenever like Wednesday steps out of like Nevermore to always keep an eye on like Wednesday and basically whenever like Wednesday steps out of like Nevermore for like uh, needs to like either accompany Wednesday or while simultaneously heavily supporting the that is not possible. Uh, is like to scenario kind of very and not the which like from and like that like Wednesday and that point of for like we hope that are to take action to be that extremely concerned about that Wednesday and so like that way that the sure like eventually letting Wednesday go off that means back to like no after like so long it left you in the scenario that it was a very good. So that definitely from that the very next day it's like that from the very next morning itself at that Liam was open like all the scores like Wednesday getting the slap then shampoo kind of like feeling connecting to like when the Wednesday life in like the school like in that the previous school from like Nancy Reagan school but like the student they would play out of fear um, uh, while Wednesday approach like an like a similar scenario happening on like the very next day on in like next or well like also like an even shooting that the even incident of like also like in scenario get like like on being exactly the situation at like Nancy Reagan school without like an like in now more like an there will be like like among the like four groups I think so like fans and like basically scales and like all the groups like they have the current like the small students among that and like more like it would be totally finding Wednesday in the same exactly member generation. So like typical is like you can spend like you can have it better. While like the student like the one who might not be that exactly strong you can feel that their powers and everything that you can like that would be that straight away that would be straight away seen Wednesday as like an absolute point and would be straight away intimidated by the sheer potency of that Wednesday. Yeah, now Wednesday when also then basically that way like then all will be like around staying away and moving away from that with that absolute distance from that Wednesday. Like whenever I Wednesday approach in the that scenario. So like this situation of the print would be like the beginning of like this whole dark turn of like the story of like Wednesday's life and that never more. So that injection are exactly when I'm okay, so like leave my the good and that sitting on to step based on that between from the inside of the like counting like basically according to their with the plans to like stack up like false evidence against like Wednesday. This might be the case like in like what like means as well as like counted might have been like might before like being was like taken Wednesday to like Jericho to like mean like the skin ball. This might be also like the sibling of like Weems as well as like might be like against the minimum frame. So by before taking Wednesday to lecture go to that means the like huge stack of evidence against like all the evidence against like Wednesday to like create such situation where like crime taking place exactly while Wednesday showed up to lecture to like create such a situation that can directly uh, create the best situation that can what like Weems along with that content might have been that right before taking Wednesday to meet like the corrupt symbol like Weems along with like content might have segue like sort of to like just like pause close to like where like all the previous crimes had like taken place. And in that exact point that they might have said they like found someone like working on like do something from that cross like and basically like work being as well as like downhill like basically being like under the thing might be just to like take the plan from into like a and like downhill but like if in like downhill like downhill might be able to like it then maybe transform the plan into like some sort of like a plan like as well might be also the case like possibly that either that or like downhill might be only having like the power to like change plants into and turn create transformation to plants and turn plants into like change of like plant like which will be taking orders from that giant plan like which will be taking order for like simple might be either this would spout might be like long spout the even Ponkel along with like things what they might have done they might have like one of two like walk close to like more and like found another target and might have taken off that target and that innocent individual and basically on their way back, like it might have happened might have been that on their way back after like taking out the target, like they might have by sheer coincidence, like they might have got in front of that these two trucks, and that might be how like the truck accident uh, between like the collision between like the trucks might have happened. Which like Wednesday had seen even though her visions of that old man as well as like his like dreams as well as like Wednesday after like meeting like one of the point of way back to like had seen on the outside like at least so like towards that vision that like Wednesday had seen like Wednesday might have totally seen with like there most likely means in this like that's where from like basically like so like that reason like Wednesday might have not been able to like identify like that where as like so identity of that being that means might be like racist so like maybe it might have been he alone that might have for like in right front of like those two facts and that way like the actor in the game might have happened might have been like the case of element so like since like so that was Wesley might have or Wesley might have seen just like that from the might have been so definitely so like definitely and what's happening since that account of it might have been probably it might not only happen after that things around with like it might have be committed that crime and like taken out that much target like probably like it will be like this like person who might have went up to that course exactly at that location, close to that location where that activity in the truck that has taken place, like either for other reason, like it might definitely have been like an individual citizen of like the town of like Jericho that might have uh, that might have been like that might be the case. So like a person like an like the church, uh, and along it was like whole team of like police that basically like searching from in like the force that basically that would be definitely either due to like them getting the like report of like a missing case like someone from like an individual from like Jericho has not returned back home and is missing. And that way to and like that the location where we are through gone to in that exact location of like the action might be also along the line that somebody like that person might have sales might have just by that the family member of that victim might have been left so like the sheriff right now he like the left the night like in the also like spots like area like that would be most likely at the case might be either lecture contain already haven't found like the body, and basically there might be something for like info of like evidence that in that form to connect like to like to get any sort of like folder and just to like to be able to like connect like the culprit behind like the trying to find out like might be like the case of this like extreme search to third party of sort of in the form in the might be like it limits cases. So either the search and like team might have already found like the body or like they might be in that form like really something called pattern synthesis uh, might be like the days like the possibility that anyway like I'm looking like at person like I'm looking like the sure anticipate at person might be totally unaware of like the results happening of like the situation of like how and getting taken off might be also the case agreement which I'm only thing like the sheriff right now with them without collateral like receiving a call from one of them and like the festivals. Uh, so definitely let's say the government tradition that it might have been things that after like own work taken out like it might be unsolved. The thing that might be correcting of that scenario being like in being things that will be of person to for and like totally and totally sitting in a to create such an brand like a scene that way ending up like attracting like a great number of people from like the school and that way like straight away that one of them like to straight away calling like lecture to like a report about this like situation this crime that has taken place at like this like still location something to this like student or from like level more it's like the scenario that I'm looking at so like right now the conversation from like just would do more likely saying that for just like the scenario that make it so that the police might have the impressions that like that favorite unsolved crime case like Wednesday from like like I'm looking like which might have been like the loss of like uh loss of like Tyler's grandpa like this might have been like the culprit behind that might have been either like either like Weems of like poison back then. Who might be at present like Weems like affect about it like we know to be aware of that things even have question might be also the case you might agree with them. Definitely any sprinkler as well definitely running will be most likely be into like so definitely also make a correction about that as well as well along with the we might have get all that things that might be like a case also like to that as well. So definitely that in that like in that drawing that from 25 years back which like about like mother had from me that person who's like only standing against like this work to the to like Wednesday in that from that that man would be most likely like the suspect of that means and like this incident might be an incident that definitely will be eventually taking place at like Nevermore Academy in like the future like a fight between like the villanistic husband of like Beans and like what is Wednesday. It's like the scenario that I'm just about to and my opinion. And then like even at that point, like the sheriff to like straight away assume that like it might definitely be like the culprit might definitely be Wednesday. That like Wednesday is like topic on a villanistic kind of like base would be along the lines from the different like of like something trying to be along the lines of like straight away and a question that like the sheriff will just straight away taking things like an arc that original and it's still the possibility of like basically this are having like the it's like towards like the and family might definitely be due to like that serious like favorite unsolved crime case of black men's death from like the past like which might definitely be like the case connecting to like the loss of like that sheriff's father like Tyler's like grandpa might be like the case that we might have so definitely in that case, like I'm thinking, specifically in that as well might be James and like poison like Weeks might have definitely had like a boyfriend back when while studying at like along with like nutrition might have been like the case supplement and so like definitely like food like and back then also my preparation back then like nutrition might have been constantly surpassing queens and nutrition might have been like to students of like get like it might have been after that might have been always surpassing queens might have been the case supplement so like the players still in the student business for like that unsolved crime cases of like Wednesday like the culprit behind that might be most likely and that might be that the an aspect of that region who might have been being boy from back then when that is like to that way to report the brain mostly that like the culture behind like that is and basically that way so that like to that way get like more feature get not only get expelled but also get put behind bar and that way so that like means to like graduate as like the top like that way so that like means to like surpass new feature and like graduate as like the top student of like another one. My job that and my job is like okay, so like leaning more about to take like the culprit behind that case being that most likely being just like boyfriend or like beings like mother. So that's and my job being like about that and before. So that and the same is like being business having my job lost of mother in that is in as well. Might be also the deal with and I'm still remember the question as well, like what might have happened back then might have been that Thomas who might have been so extremely might have had that absolute crush on like movies and might have uh, uh, like feelings of us towards like which are multiple times like during his like school days like only to get rejected each and every single time by my patient like what might have really happened might have been once like which like for shape might have really got framed against like for acquisition and everything might have eventually got yes, might have been one of friend against Latin America. Like at that point, that right Monica was that faced with like the situation of like getting expelled from that never more as well as like getting put behind bars. Like at that point, it might have been that definitely it might have definitely Thomas like that might have came and like that after favor and immediately might have taken it up for himself and might have totally lied and just lead to the then share of that and it might definitely not have been that kind of father that way government might have lied and told the chef back then that he was like the house the guy that right might have been what happened in the information. That way like the government might have straight away expelled from that never more but like I'm saying like the case might have gotten rejected from that the court and so that definitely due to the light of that one is like the evidence might have only the hotly framed evidence might have only get mismatched when like something to that one that might have been simply what might have happened and that way like the case might have rejected yet like the sheriff who might have been in such an absolute pain and suffering due to losing like father that might have might be even to the person would be that way strongly believing that like it was definitely gone definitely set up and that might be like it is really nice to be able to go about all this like and like about like this like case against like guns like and the different definitely Wednesday might be totally totally aware of even too like might be like that yeah like Wednesday might be totally pretending to be aware of it might be also the case definitely might be so like definitely this might be also the reason for like Wednesday definitely even while pretending to like not share about and while Wednesday often like implicated towards like still Wednesday deep down might be only deeply caring about like uh, uh, about family and definitely Wednesday would be more likely from while might have been home by absolute reason to like pro her father bonds is like innocent might be like the definitely mentioned like that way might have been also how like eventually this like crime case eventually ending up becoming that fair unsolved crime case of Wednesday, which even to like a might be Wednesday like ultimate goal of that will be to like eventually solve that case and like prove in a sense might be also the case like of it. So that's definitely for the second definitely like considering might actually restricted on to that topic Wednesday behind bars like and considering what might have actually happened to like the body of like Rowan during the sin like what might happen might have been like Rowan might have been survived might be literally so that's what might have actually happened might have been like after like the most of attack like Rowan and have left like uh, what might have happened might have been like Wednesday might have straight away like ran towards like the festival to totally get help and at that point what might have happened might have been exactly at that point might have been when that the citizens that on himself having been persuaded to have that special powers that basically would be that he has that attack like Wednesday so definitely a good point that Rowan might be tougher than might be even tougher than like he might also be due to those lack of and maybe like he might have barely managed to like survive that's the lack of that most of my the case. So like that way by the time like Wednesday might have sort of like cases from like a towards like that crime location like at that point I'm looking like like Rowan by then like Rowan like might have got much and they might have used it for to like get rid of like all the evidence lines in floor and that because like the payment credentials were lessons like accounts like how to explain like the hospital like no things like talking to like the hospital like things like the might have the account himself that might also acquire and like government of like the all different like line footprint and like single everything like on the floor. Might be the case definitely and definitely the case of the different it might have been the fleet failure that might actually be that monster like the case of like saver like I'm that saver might be only having that absolute failure power of like the monster might be only that absolute brute strength alone and definitely so the fleet might have been definitely like the clearing of like the evidence that might be definitely might have been definitely the work of like Rowan itself to definitely on the commission and like why exactly Rowan might have done that like and so it might be definitely to have definitely because like after that attack from like the monster like Rowan might have definitely Rowan might have used his powers to like survive that attack from like the monster and at that point like definitely Rowan who was like already seeing like Wednesday as like absolute monster who needs for helping in like no more like at that point Rowan might have also felt that basically definitely that monster might be that the friend of that Wednesday and that definitely would be part of like Wednesday's like Wednesday plans like the monster would be mostly perfectly Wednesday's like team member and like Wednesday's friend like would be all part of like Wednesday's like Wednesday plan like to eventually destroy it never more might be along the lines like around made the pretty again down to like a function of like definitely and conclusion of might be like the games that so like a person like and so like around like ultimate goal would be to like take down both like the monster as well as like Wednesday while both like the monster and Wednesday will be dropping and lowering like their guard like at that point like that would be like the necessary condition that like now we around you only thing as like in wanting for him to be like take them both down might be along the lines like on between the film and the so definitely this might be the reason for like Owen like about the it might have been Owen might have used up by and it might have been himself like Owen himself that might have clear like that and so that like the church and the like and of course like won't be like or like the town of like Jericho or and like never more so that like everyone won't be like high enough or in that fear of like monster so that like basically so into clearing like evidence like and that way making it hard for like special to like believe like the story of when things might have been the lead what like such it might be the what like around would be warning so that like they believe with like the town of like Jericho as well as so that like the town of Jericho more like never more won't be fear of like high alert for like this monster so that like usually that way to have both Wednesday as well as like the monster like totally uh, you assume that basically like the story of like Rowan was like stolen by someone somebody else yet like for the goal was him that like Rowan has not survived as well it's like to create all this like situation so that like Rowan could definitely I couldn't put out only survive and from that point on my job will be fixed in his mind like definitely him at this point will be only a dog caring a talk about like about like going back to Nevermore or like a meeting with like instead might be the case the claim and frame. So like at present like the only thing in like around might be to like definitely to save Nevermore and like Jericho from his like individual perspective like the player from like one and like after seeing like his like monster like might you also think that it would just be like Nevermore and then that would be in case of that Jericho's like Jericho's like become so close to like and never more probably like the situation was like Jericho will put him in danger eventually ending up being in danger by the villain from like Wednesday as well as like this monster. Maybe along the line like Rowan might be thinking right now is certainly not famous. So like actually to eventually that actually itself like I'm like to eventually launch attack and then this attack against like a target like Wednesday and like the monster uh, like literally to first target like the monster and take down with that assistant while like the monster won't be connected to like the state. With that assistant then take down like the monster and usually then eventually like target and state to like take down the state. While both the monster and Wednesday will be having their guard down. Will be along the lines of like plan current plan, and this might be the reason for that. Until then, like Rowan might be rocket plan to like stay in that form close to like never know. Might be like the case that we might be very under. Also, like we are going to my friend, so different like beings the plane is like unfit villains thing and the period of person like would be and also wanting like the share to that city like Wednesday version of like the crime connecting to uh the situation of like might be like it is because of like definitely it's like the share believes that like definitely then that things like Wednesday saying that like the purpose is like another person like that would be like the last thing that Queens would be wanting, like the Queens would be wanting right now the currently for like the sheriff to totally not at all city like Wednesday story, and that might be the reason for like Queens event like specifically mentioning that like there's no evidence of mine. Definitely my picture. So like right now at present like what like we can be talking about it before like the to like not at all be able to serve things around in such a way so that like the sheriff will be so that like Wednesday like version of like the situation of like crime comes into like on to be totally seem unbelievable to like or as like a delusion by or like a delusion maybe or like when they saying things like in a delusion man to like the stuff so that like basically that way eventually definitely I'm wondering what might happen to be like after like being might have like the people might have found out about like the sort situation like around this might be through Wednesday something what's back after like around was like attack like Wednesday might have attract to like the people and might have shouted out about this like what situation. And at that point the some people that what we might have done might have been like we might have straight away uh certainly called like siblings which might actually be inborn as well as like as well as like not in and I might have inquired with them whether like they had actually like attacked and taken off like role and like sorry like they were like mountain as well as like inborn might have confirmed that like it wasn't them. So like at that point of view I'm that we might have decided to totally use that whole situation to like have realistic advantage and might have straight away given like the order to pray even more that they usually have like even more for the physical frame towards like Wednesday connecting to even later on so that to industry have this happen like ultimately what will might have taken even like or so that keyboard as well as like content might have been that like we straight away going to like that they are going to like straight away like make this lack of time situation appear as a lack of like when thing. But like it might have been a sort of like a surprise to like being and the siblings like one like they had like on the crime team they had found like absolutely no evidence by the time they all made it to the crime scene might have been in the case. Okay, like at that point like a different agreement might have once again still being called up the link and might have raised that statement might have told them that basically that they have to like find and that because like definitely we would be totally believing like things which they have said, but like these beliefs intent would be to like change all that up and to like make it seem as like Wednesday like about it. So like definitely we might have then create a strategies and might have given like connect or to have siblings to like definitely to realistically ensure to like as soon as possible find around that body. So and that way to like although while doing that like different things also make it seem appear true like the sort of like people like Wednesday that have totally like moved that body of like Rowan and made up this like for fake story of like this monster attack to make Wednesday seem innocent in an in an all smart manner like basically would be along the lines that means might have different strategies but like with the sibling might have been like what might have happened sibling interactions. So like right now definitely for like Wednesday story involving like the attack by a mortal account like around like to make that story seem as uh unconvincing as like possible to like the show would be like the current role of like ultimate goal of that thing that we might have needed. So like currently I'm referring right now to the screen that will make turning things around to make it seem as if that Wednesday is like basically being delusional and basically like imagining things about like the motor I can like turning things around like that in front of like the shelf. And that way like by the time like the shelf right now will be leaving from like never more like shelf will be leaning more towards like believing that game than Wednesday. To that games like stealthy villain stick ventilation like by calling for that man with sentiment in reflecting the narrative. At the place still in the back of represent for collectively from this point on like different like we should be more collectively quickly would be like ensuring to like have like let's say take more sessions with like inboard like to the artists and that will be also like the feelings in that of like we as well as like inboard to like that way by triggering or like by triggering like Wednesday to like have Wednesday like probably and so maybe like an aggressive manner as well as like and at that point to like of create like for like in both to like create like for evaluation like therapy evaluation that records against like Wednesday as like basically uh to for the like frame Wednesday as a to like a person who gets delusional and get aggressive tends to get delusional and like get aggressive like that way like using keyboard like a uh, that Weems will be stacking up such false records against Black Wednesday to like eventually use against Black Wednesday. Um, with like the sort of who are like eventually in like the sort of investigators who like use to hand over such records, false records comes into Black Wednesday to like the sort of to make the to have to create even more of a vision from like the sort of towards Black Wednesday being like because behind like sort of the crime taking place and like there's also like an individual purpose and that in kind of way. Also looking at the potential right now, it's definitely for like since like the sheriff is like pilot father like in like 2003 at all like was like the sheriff would work on like after like the interrogation of like Wednesday like in like the sheriff and pilot having a casual conversation about like with like reason like about like Wednesday and like with like a recent situation with like and then was putting like pure then like that Tyler like by sheer action like basically without realizing like the consequence like and just like Tyler totally revealing to like the self about like them having seen Rowan and like inevitably just to take at like the festival and basically having seen that Rowan running into like the box which was when like Wednesday as well had like ran after would be adopt the lines and look for like that in an absolutely innocent manner like and look for like kind of hope revealing to like the surface like person after that that way like I'm looking like the sudden light of like Wednesday to like the shirt for like Wednesday having gone to like the course from like the festival due to that Wednesday hearing this like noise from like the festival that basically that light of like Wednesday and getting exposed to such an accidental revelation of electrical by Tyler eventually to electricity. And that way, that resulting in like also like future like substitution to like I think substitution being formed everything that was towards like Wednesday that's about Wednesday being like the culprit. Like basically is like also like things involved with an academic overthink and everything. Also, the movement still remember the mention that like the third recent attack at like the fourth close to like Nevermore, which had taken place on like the very day that like Wednesday had joined Nevermore, in which as well like I'm referring that we might have been simply like the culprit like and that attack like basically that victim might have been that guy might have been actually that man might have been actually thrown that father might be that actually the situation that limits the reaction that sitting with so like this might be how Wednesday even know of like the even while Wednesday have revealed that point is like a quiet one like still like the fact that like Wednesday even knows like the name of that or that would be that from that the festival that Wednesday straight away even knowing like the name of that or that basically that might be due to lack Wednesday most likely even while lack putting most likely putting on that app would take actions that is against technology that would be stealthy like using our computer and basically stealthy would be that like would be up to date as well like the situations in like the of like the mind state like in like areas surrounding our mouth and like the recall and those things might be like this and so like once like the crime that took place in like the course of the day like once they have genuine like or more like it once that became like thinking like at that point the like Wednesday might also be like found out about it and basically either through like online or like through like the news like Wednesday might have found out about it and that way like Wednesday might have search like the details of like the victim and basically as for like the family and everything and like it might be at that point that like Wednesday might have found out that basically about like him having a son by that name about his studies that like never might be what might have happened. That's maybe how like Wednesday like the name Rowan, and that's maybe how that was incident as well that happened when it might have used as the increase spike and increase like the doubt that we are not until then might have had connecting to like the promotion of like not after 25 years in like the past like recently just like that uh so how like things turning from like in feeling the positive like that as in like a doubt to like the most likely certainty might have been through that sudden shock of like own things that pop in the very day when they had joined never more. It might have been also like the case like a possibility that I'm going to that's all I want me to recognize might have been it is like one of the mention right now that we that we like boy back when like the what event might have been Edgar Allan Poe like too much pain alumni of like never know that I feel like how we might have made it to such a question might have been through that in that that been through certainly maybe through that the interest in that distant of like something that like favorite unsolved crime case of like Wednesday and which might have been definitely for like Weems to like have him be able to like surpass Motisha because like right now my impression is that like that then like it might have been Motisha that might have like the house but it might have been Motisha as well as like Edgar and so might be like the case especially of the so yeah, like it might have been Motisha that might have been on the lead and like definitely he might have definitely been like as demanding love with like Edgar Allan Poe and might have definitely that we wanted that to form like Edgar to like surpass like Motisha that way might have had that absolute jealousy and it's like towards like Monica for like surpassing Edgar his innocent tongue might have been like the case that you know so like to eventually have Edgar surpass like Monica and to integrate the position of that being like the most famed enemy exactly never more like and for like it might have been like with that realistic secret shrine that like strategy that like Edgar Allan as well as like we might have done before we bring notice and that way to like get more people expelled so that like Edgar can become like the most famous element like never more. So like that way like just like favorite unsolved crime case of like Wednesday that doesn't pass might have happened and like that way like it might be through such a manner like with like that way like to support evidence that Monica getting into trouble and that way might have been solely fact it made out when made it possible for like help them Alan for to that we reach like the position of that being like the most famous enemy of that now might have been what might have happened in like this definitely so like definitely like I person like Edgar Allan Poe might be like secretly the husband of like Queen's husband might be also the case and so that when like in like this into the for Edgar Allan Poe to like make his return to like now more in like to the run by then like I'm sorry like that just into the by then like like Prince they would be known as the like uh fear fearful like demon or like which by like the entirety of like the students that like never more as well as like the significance of like Jericho like in the really that fear that would be stealthy or but also necessary of you through like the realistic plans of like Edgar Allan as well as like being would be through the popular there with that against like state and it would like usually at one point like them that means who be most likely into like shift it into like a warehouse like eventually getting caught while something trying by like the setup and at that point that means that would be taken off like shut that's the like very good scenario then right? From that point on like it would be like case as well as like stealthy ways as well as like Edgar Allan like that would be through the remote stealthy communication would be running like 10 dash so and this leading to be creating that atmosphere within like the students with that atmosphere to be create that atmosphere within like the students of like more of the like like the record connecting to like Wednesday and like if you're seeing Wednesday as like this team format looks that needs to be White House and this that way at that point like Edgar Allan Poe like like this thing to like basically they need to return to like Jericho and like now more as like absolute savior here of the white football that they acting to it to be this absolute hero savior basically That way, it might be like the fight between like Edgar and then Thor as against like Wednesday at like the Nevermore Academy. By then, like I'm doing all the other students will be leaving like Nevermore Academy out of their fear that will be created by the scary villains of like against like Wednesday. So definitely, yeah, like it will be at that point. I was trying to give Wednesday Tyler as well as like different like that Wednesday will make them the way that would be alone like staying and like by themselves staying at like might be like a deal. So like at that point of when that for to be like this and the talent for that will be showing up to like the Jericho go as like who are saying that who's going to like bring down like this team on Wednesday and this week. That way like I would like to be that fight between Edgar and Poe and like Wednesday taking place at like Nevermore. That is like definitely like the what would be uh, what would be in like that point by Rowan's like mother, which like Rowan mother without realizing what it is had from 25 years in like the past. Uh, might have been like the case, so like that man in like the drawing, by that girl in that drawing might definitely be Wednesday, like that man in like the drawing might be definitely Edgar Allan Poe. Thing like the symbolism might be like the case, definitely might be good language that's sitting on it. So like the about the friendship, like it might have been that Rowan after like certainly finding out about like when lost it is like part of friend. Which like Rowan might have straight away came to like the conclusion that like it might have actually be between Wednesday might have been like the conflict. So when at that point the conclusion like Rowan might have prepared himself to like actually friend down Wednesday. And so that as part of the proprietary like Rowan might have that one up to that library which I think might be like those books that Rowan had were like checking out like might have been from like the library like what I think might be the case. So at least there are like I'm saying like there might have been books containing like spells as well might be like the case and like I believe on top of that now Rowan himself having like on the skill of powers to like know things like in that like on what Rowan might have done with Papa like with the questions before for like signature Bob would scenario of like having like I'm fight and bring down Wednesday like I'm like as part of like the preparation like either Owen might have also expected like such in such an such situation like this year Owen like because of like on believing that Wednesday which really something like one destroyed like and that like now more like happily Owen would do also for me might have had such high expectations of like Wednesday for doing such like high extreme power as well. So like as part of like Owen's like preparation for like intelligence like comes when they like Rowan might have what seems such a awkward scenario of like going such a fight like Rowan taking the like serious injury. So like definitely Rowan will be the field to make to like survive even such situation and get a clear sort of like performance. So like definitely as part of the preparation like he might have come to a great number of books like he might have like went through books containing maybe spell maybe there might be such books in the library like me. But like that might be complicated. But like I'm like Rowan with his lecturers might have been able to that learn those spells and that way might have learned healing spells. It's like one of the that and recall like there might have been that Rowan might have managed to like get hold of like some sort of like mysterious healing item. Yeah. Which like Rowan might have only used after that attack by like the monsters that basically to heal himself. And basically that may be how like when they I mean like Rowan right now being able to like show up to like never more without looking to the obliterates that basically just like just like such close kind internet might be what might have happened what Black Rowan might have done. So definitely not the invention and definitely Black Rowan like getting which I'm thinking to myself that might have definitely that Rowan himself that might have gotten friend of like the evidence comes to like the monster and definitely that definitely might have been due to like or like me wanting like or had the seeing himself as like basically the chosen one to like okay bring down Wednesday and basically that way. So definitely like Rowan might the last thing Rowan might be wanting to be for like the church and like this like for to like probably to find out about like this monster and everything like to be looking for this like monster instead like Rowan might have wanted himself to like bring down both like the monster as well as like uh as that absolute savior to bring down both the monster as well as like Wednesday and save Nevermore. Which might have been exactly I think like monster one of it. So definitely for all at right now showing up to like now more with mind like their own like the intent would be to like actually by hiding all this like still even though with like even though on you don't like waiting for like like monster as well as like when straight to be on that track. Still for like rounds like plan will be like still manage to like find out like the identity of like the monster. So definitely around to be strongly feeling that you know likely the spirit of like nevermore whom like the from like when they might have made that might be going here from like the India along the lines like on would have came down to like such a country. So like to find out like the identity of that monster and then for like Rowan even while even though when they as well as like that most of them like they will be having a chance still for like around like still eventually managed to like bring for Wednesday and that most of them Wednesday now and like save might be the that absolute determination like Rowan right now might have learned back to like never more fight like the belief of the okay, so like the name of the instance right now that is the telescope at like present might be totally a popular figure and like might be famous and like a popular figure and might be having like span across like the world at present might be like the actual to name of the generation. So and might be considering the member generation might be also like might be also secretly experiences husband as well might be like the case with name of the generation. So the belief and like the culprit behind that the unsolved crime case of Black Wednesday might be also the case of the belief and friends in that situation. And that's so while as person like from that Wednesday perspective like Edgar and focus like a madman like and still relax that might not be how Black starts to reflect the word views and has and like he might be having such a huge fan base as well not like the word might be like the actuality like the series definitely also next to the end. So like upon the question of between like the and four, and like person might be known across like the world of like popular, caring and bold and courageous like exorcist who like all sorts of like demons and which is like fear and basically are their worst nightmare would be along the lines of like that elder and so would be known across like the world and in the most likely that we have like a huge fan following for him as well might be might be the case definitely might be might be the case definitely not here. So that way according to my observation don't think for like a simple scenario where like this like very same popular at the and then so like basically eventually turning back to like never more to like safe and free never more from that the demon state like such a scenario what I'm happening in the simple so like that way like the most popular uh endemic of like Nevermore, like returning back to like save Nevermore would be along the lines of the different like the news headlines and like Titans will be at that point in like consequences of so like I'm with that turning into like an extremely news scene for like the world and then like it's totally going viral at that point and like the world and I'm looking like the first of the world like all of them having their eyes on that Edgar Allan Poe that basically and like Nevermore and Wednesday at that point. So like that attracting that attention of the customer towards at that point in like that final sort of fight scenario between like Kendall and Go and like Wednesday to be take place at like Nevermore Academy within like Nevermore Academy at that point. Exactly like the point is like the Byron that is like the scenario that you want to mention. So it's like definitely my secondary impressions that like Wednesday around it like in a singular movie like that out of like not only themes but also of like Edgar Allan Poe might be that the attributed to it's like about the direction but like I'm looking like definitely we might have ensured to keep that information a secret from that and it's in not or anything that might be like it is definitely so maybe doing that that's the realm of fundamental reason. I think will be more like such an extremely popular figure and everything. And definitely like enough for like graduating from that enough for like head just as well as like Weems and like the past might have had uh, might have graduated to the enough from like now more. Like since then I'm going to them both might have fixed in their mind to like definitely to ensure like the Lincoln destruction of like the average family that might have been like that similar to devote the remaining of their life to like basically and to use their family members and everyone to like totally to ensure the destruction, chemical destruction of like the entire damage family might be along the lines of bring that they might have set it up as like their ultimate goal might be that against definitely memory depression. So definitely and definitely it might have maybe it might have been after like basically like promises, like direct sacrifice, and basically save Tisha, like agency within like being and within like fundamental save no, and that way like agency within like being and boyfriend like and then go basically towards like Matisha might have not ended and might have that like they might have uh, that way like they might have got a message with like Matisha once again being saved by and like that way like they might have decided to like devote the entire the remaining like to like lifting out that absolute destruction. It's like Matisha and her family might have been that it's totally ended up becoming like perspective like that and family might have been what might have happened to the so like definitely due to all the stories of black and different like even while but in terms of different like and then singular might be totally aware that like being as well as like feelings of number as well as like content as well as like inbound are like being just like things like basically even while one of the mention like in that might be aware of this like still like being sometimes things like have to like remember like it might have like to like anything there and might have maybe thought anything there that basically that like and it was like an abandoned child or like an abandoned child might be along the lines that things might have life to like anything there and for this like screen secrecy that it's like they might have maintained things as a sibling that everyone that all of that family might have maintained might have been solely with that absolute solely due to their extreme obsession with like wanting that industry expression of like that family to like successfully realistically execute that even just such a scenario like and like they might have probably uh, maintain this like absolute secrecy even within their own family and might be like it's definitely memorable. So like poor anything that might be of treatment but then might be only about that like that she actually has like a father and basically that father is like and that and go and we also like that with the situation that you movement. So like definitely eventually I'm sure on totally different thing like anything like finding out for this and definitely I'm bring at that point like definitely I'm bring that in a sense, are eventually turning into like the side of like Wednesday and fighting alongside Wednesday to let's say Wednesday as and being that after front then in front of like Wednesday so like an scenario that I'm also on the recommend so like the place my experience of like from this point on for like Wednesday to like we go to that phase that way more greater number of like stealthy members attacked by our send up to like the government statue from this point on. There's like the scenario that I'm so like right now that Savior might have had this like extreme session of like an opportunity feeling towards like Wednesday even since that's the long distant past since like Saber and Wednesday feature the Saber might have been that leading up to date with like Wednesday like progress in life that Wednesday like basically getting transferred from like one school to like another and like people more getting transferred from school to schools that Saber might have been stepping within talking Wednesday online and basically by online and offline and might have been keeping up to date with like the top certain might have been the case and that way usually Savior might have figured that basically it's like this like for Peter situation of like Wednesday getting transferred from one to the like and some would be eventually ending up with like Wednesday ending up eventually ending up in like now more exactly like when since like now more even was like exactly what like that's like movies as well as like had studied it in like so definitely Savior might know all like might have done all this like might know of all these details might have might have found out about these details and that way Savior might have had like and luckily Savior that then might not desperately wanted to like study on like the same school as that of like Wednesday so that like Savior could like actually make this move and basically get Wednesday to like fall in love with this Savior. Might have been one thing that Savior might have been straight about, but like book like Wednesday creating causing trouble repeatedly and basically getting transferred from school to school like making the Savior might have decided to like wait for like Wednesday at like never more and that will like Sega might have ended up that might be how like Sega and that might be so real for like Sega even ending up joining Nevermore might have been also the case that after like, joining Nevermore Sega might have been basically waiting for the day that Wednesday will be eventually ending up at like Nevermore might have been the case especially in the but so definitely might have been that like with leave of like proposal awareness that like Savior is like a role like a role like definitely So I believe my direction right now is definitely for that. At least what like Savior might have been exam might have been like one after like when they joining like never more like definitely like when by sheer point might have ended up that sporting like Wednesday and like instance and like the academic ends of like never more might have been more like the way of place that like when they had joined might have been like so like at that point like point might have female fan might have easily gotten from the feeling as if like Wednesday it would have to that girls are like the drawing of like around like so like a bit of like so in my job straight away head back on getting back to this platform that so in my job don't even though know an extremely concerned man but like no in an extremely casual manner feel that like on my job thought about this that about the Black Marble story and about that him seeing like this Wednesday and everything. So that favor even by then Black might have already been already in an excited kind of like a mood on like level even before that so like finding out about like Wednesday doing like and might be like certainly one of the things. So like once like so like once like when might have already the like the suspicion comes into like Wednesday like at that point, like Savior might have probably decided to like take advantage of that, you know, simply take advantage of that position of like our towards like Wednesday to like turn Rowan against like Wednesday and to have like Rowan probably attempt to like attack Wednesday so that like Savior to like probably say that as the Savior hero might in like shining armor might have been like Savior like plan to go like Savior might be so stringent obsessed with like 11 that like he wouldn't even matter for Savior like it might be such that it wouldn't even matter so Savior might be such a character that like it wouldn't even matter regardless of what Williams means that you know to like eventually get electric reason like preferring that you know to like get let's say in that form might be along the lines of like realistic perception that Sailor might have had towards like Wednesday might have been the case so definitely like once like the proper news of like when the month like on the very day when they can join like the certain move of like Owen's like father Owen losing his like father might have happened like this might have been the case that but like at that point Owen might have been only absolutely sad and in tears and like it is own with like Savior might have been at the case that living famous so like Owen might have been waiting out at that point in front of like Savior saying that like that his patients and his like his mother was like only fight that will be carefully Wednesday that and like definitely the country behind like law from like Robert will be along the lines like the careful uh Owen might have been waiting in front of like Savior. So like at that point like Savior might have probably been simply take advantage of that situation and to like totally to create that absolute realistic kind of like a reserve within obviously kind of like a reserve within like a Owen to like take out Wednesday. Might have been saving himself that might have relatively created such an absolute obsessive reserve within like realistic reserve within lack of one might have been through failure of manipulation or might have been what might have actually happened to like the possible and something like that way like another thing that during that the ongoing statue things like and like so like at that point like in the like say that might have been something expecting for like and I'm still the attack that may happen at any point for like against like Wednesday by Owen. So like Sega might have been on the start and that might be how like Sega might have saved Wednesday at that point from like the dark incident. So like that might have been the like the first move that like Sega might have made to give that absolute fear of failure image right like possibly instead that different like when state that way have when state story for the like failure. So like after that like a network failure like it might have been that absolute common shock of that and might have created that absolute phrase within that jealousy and rage and especially within like Sega towards like Tyler on softly finding out that so quickly like Tyler and Winston had bottom move. Might have been like a case so that definitely that might have so that it might have been like the next move that like Sega might have made of that basically is like definitely might have been for like Sega might have for free for even since like the very first time Sega might have met around like maybe Rowan might have innocently thrown off his like powers to like move from that feel like Sega, but like Sega might have that his game might have decided to to Rowan might have kept such serious power, which might be to the power to get transformed into this monster. Take up Rowan might have been executed in that way, Rowan used to represent might not be at all aware of Savior having any power at all. Savior might have died and Rowan that he doesn't have any sort of power at all. Might be that is pretty enough. So definitely that way might have been the second strategy of Savior to play that Savior uh, uh, in front of Wednesday by attacking and attacking Rowan. Might have been what might have actually happened. The new information that has been so even while attacking Rowan, Savior might have ensured to basically that he doesn't take out so that basically usually for to open up the possibility of multiple future attacks by Rowan toward against uh, Wednesday so that in each and every single one of those situations Savior to basically be that Savior for Wednesday and basically definitely even if it's a situation where Savior only having to at least he might have already done before without having transform to the monster save Wednesday. So definitely that way eventually so that way it might be Savior's strategy for Savior to make Wednesday feel as if he has this guardian monster basically always coming in to save her whenever Wednesday is in trouble kind of a situation as that way from when they to feel a bit of to lose eventually that way lose fear of monster figure and basically that way for this to build up just that way to by falsely playing the role of a protector for figure to totally attempt even while being in monster form to attempt to make this friendship with Wednesday that for a friendship to be formed eventually between Wednesday and serious monster form would also with a repeated saving by Savior of Wednesday. Really what Savior might be planning, and that way eventually uh, uh, creating a friendship for Savior to eventually make that rebuild to Wednesday that monster in Savior. And basically that Savior's absolute genuine love and feeling of compassion towards Wednesday, making him do all that basically uh, causing Savior to be that absolute savior of Wednesday and everything. And that way to eventually prove a knight in kind armor basically to give to paint such an image for in front of Wednesday. And that way through that manipulated to get Wednesday to fall for savior might be savior to long term plan which think about right now would be electric of electric voting might be that to the situation also the membership that since sign up and respect of those definitely saver maybe at present might be also planning on totally using a Rowan and Rowan's just and desire to to bring down Wednesday to also have Rowan even target Tyler as well so that using Rowan for saver to eventually have create such a scenario where that has to have Rowan eventually launch some sort of an ambush attack on Wednesday and Tyler while they will be together so that that attack Sailor will be only expecting Rowan to take out Tyler first and will be as Rowan to be about to take out Wednesday at that point for Savior to once again in the monster form say Savior and will be maybe take out Rowan at that point and basically with Tyler gone basically at that point Savior will be only feeling that so it doesn't matter to actually have Wednesday is definitely fall from Savior eventually and would be what Savior might be only plan as well. 100% is also definitely about the and yes, well, same right now that exactly Wednesday, having the power of business, no pitch as well, might have might be having the power of pitch as well, might be the case that we learn today. And Richard might have had power of vision, seeing visions all the way back when Morris and we might have been students, definitely now, might have been actually great. And so these might be well, that might have been jealous of having this unique power of vision. And we might have eventually even ended up with that absolute still trying to use that power of motivation for the frame that absolute for the falsely framed knowledge and everything might have been something that we might have done that during that days of like a student back in like November that have to set about this like this might be okay I'm aware of even though might be also the case like about that recorded actually while Wednesday had basically revealed to Weems about like the recently about like the accident about like the situation of like uh, the accident and like the injury in like the neck of like the person in like the truck that basically at that point it's like in the point like the shock that we might have had might have been like the shock of like about when realize it which might have happened to like Weems that like basically that like Wednesday to share the same power as that of like her mother in secret of that seeing vision might be along the lines of like that absolute realization that we might have had at that point, definitely automatic transition. And also on top of that, like the shop might have there might be also that other element behind that shop that Vince might have got at that point while Wednesday had revealed about that accident. Due to that most likely that accident even happening due to that the two trucks the people driving like those two trucks that most likely having feel like this like sharing where uh, in like the middle of the road language lead most likely due to like in after like committing another crime that basically that has been like on then back to like never getting caught in right by circumstances getting caught in front of those two trucks and that may be how like this accident might have happened. So like this might was having that absolute fear in front of like basically through Wednesday's like vision power like Wednesday also we haven't seen that where the things in terms like werewolf form. So like even though lacking the werewolf form that werewolf form that games might be one from that like once they won't be able to like realize that that they are like actually being still definitely the fact that once they had seen that they are fortunate that actually might have gone into like an extremely secure kind of like a situation might have been also the case and hence like might have added up to like the feeling of shock with only thing being might have been also the case definitely so like as person like this as part of some like realistic strategy to like eventually force the frame Wednesday and like that family as like criminals and the people them kind of like and like as person like after that uh after like Wednesday like after like we might have already found out about like Wednesday having like the power like division like might have set up like next strategy and next plan to like okay to frame the actuality of like when they have like power of like vision like basically for anybody else like even find out that and like never know or like the even finds out about like Wednesday having this like unique power that we can to like eventually once again falsely frame Wednesday as like a deluded person like as like a person who's like totally delusional and we totally falsely frame Wednesday into that appearing as like the person in front of like like we might be currently uh, like basically doing everything he's doing right now. Like we like it's particular so like definitely one of them right now with like Weems like expelling Rowan with this plan right now could be definitely to like literally forcefully frame uh uh Wednesday as like this person who like totally wants to be popular for recurring still the person who totally wants to be popular for recurring and like he wants to do that Wednesday seeing things like the Yoda manner and basically definitely after realizing that it was definitely at that point from like Wednesday to Wednesday to like usually see the delusions that will lead to go around saying about or delusions are like it's like of real and then for like eventually for Wednesday to like turn that delusion into reality by Wednesday herself committing that very exact crime. And basically that way to like trick like the public into like saying that Wednesday is like about a powerful seer has like future prediction power like that way especially with for like things to like stack up like for evidence against Wednesday and like same Wednesday along the lines of like Wednesday even getting certain ideas for that Wednesday's like interact with like Rowan finding out about Rowan's like mother having being a seer and like powers like basically that company resulted in like Wednesday getting this realistic inspiration to totally absolute trickery to trick the public into that and by even committing crimes to trick the public into saying that Wednesday is like a seer and have the power to see visions and be able to like see like the future with the actual with the incident before it happened like basically that way to like once again during Wednesday like criminal will be what like I'm referring that we might be planning at for them. It's like a possibility that I'm considering the reason for like being like sudden expelling of like Rowan, which would be actually with like wind is weaker intent while the other thing like the scenario to be like while Rowan will be heading off to like the train station like at that point like I'm definitely for a stealthy ambush attack to happen on by Weems in like the form in like the night in like that time like the so that aspect of the like the scenario that way like going to stack up false evidence against that and for Wednesday like like Weems consumer behavior essentially attempting for an attack to like take out for Rowan to like change the scenario that I'm looking for. So like definitely feeling the scenario that I'm looking for like while Rowan is leave it like this for another event like taking place at like Nevermore. Turns into like the LNPO and for which like there's the in its singular like so Wednesday to lecture for like a different event kind of like a situation like a different like definitely like the situation being like when they badly wanted to like talk to like Rowan and like Rowan also getting expelled from like like so these Wednesday right now trying to take advantage of this whole situation to and especially like Rowan as well heading through like the train station like on that very afternoon like then this like Wednesday only I don't think to like take advantage of this whole situation of like pushing like uh, just that even at like never more to that attempt when it's like next step to like the train station and like when Slam was without it created a once again plotting Tyler and like Taylor Tyler to like show up to like the location of this like event and like never know somehow I basically important to like attempt for like that way at that point for like when space to like attempt or escape and like the train station and like on their way to support like exactly while Owen will be leading to like train station so like Wednesday to like talk to like Owen as well as like clear things up whether it was like Wednesday's imagination or whether that incident with like the motor attacking point had actually happened and everything and basically up like clearing that up for like Wednesday to like also to like the escape to like the train station to like the exact location where like Wednesday initially itself wanted to like escape from like Nevermore to which might be like the train station right after like the train station at like the town of like Jericho Nego that the very next train station might be like the location where like that favorite unsolved crime case of like Wednesday from like the past might have taken place to investigate and find out and for like investigate like solve go to that location and find investigate and solve that crime unsolved crime case will be like what like the only thing in like that's written right now in that also like the boss is definitely as like with argument definitely and that way to like go when Thomas is like in a sense like instead of things in the story might be considered like admin words definitely member so definitely this might be so referring without maybe stay like Wednesday so we planning with like Tyler and that way like something like things like even like Tyler going up to this like and the Wednesday managing to like get something never more with like Tyler and would be following like Rowan and like on the bring that as they will be following Rowan like Wednesday like Tyler from a distance that basically like witnessing this like stopping incident where like that werewolf wakes up from like the fox like jumping into like the road and attacking like the car in which like the Rowan would be and like just like werewolf trying to like take out Rowan with like the scenario there and so like at that point it's like and it's like and extremely concerned like even though they will be getting scared like still like there will be that desperate desire to like save Rowan something like Wednesday so Wednesday along with like five like okay and rushing towards like where like the werewolf will be attacking Owen is like the scenario that I'm looking so that at that point while Wednesday would be getting close to like that werewolf which might definitely be steadily experiencing that werewolf one like at that point is when I'm looking like well Wednesday would be getting close to like the werewolf at that point is when I'm looking like once again that monster which might definitely be savior like will be showing up and basically would be like probably fighting that means definitely because like definitely Saber might definitely have absolutely no idea of like the identity of like the being like means it's also element right so definitely that Saber will be definitely concerned of that it's about the like that where attacking Wednesday so definitely and Saver like a different would be like luckily from that even like upon the month like Wednesday would be steadily escaping from like Nevermore, but like Tyler at that point that like a Savior and that time would be always like stopping Wednesday, so luckily Savior would be while Wednesday along with like Tyler would be like chasing after like and following like the car in which like Rowan would be like Savior would be following like the car of in which like Tyler and Wednesday would be like that way Savior making it 10 times and usually that fight between like the monster Savior was like somewhere who's happening right in front of like the shop Rowan as well as like Wednesday as well as Tyler like scenario that I was playing. So like at that point I was playing like Wednesday like quickly telling that quickly like lifting up like the picture Rowan and basically that Wednesday quickly trying to like get Rowan to like the train station to like save Rowan from like the werewolf like the scenario. While like the werewolf would be in that instance by like the monster savior like the scenario that I was playing. And like Tyler as well will be running along with like that like the scenario that I'm playing. That way like the three of them like Rowan Wednesday as well as Tyler making it to like the station and like Rowan as well as like Wednesday like taking the train and basically at that point I also like the train would be about to take off like I'm like definitely uh like Tyler as well like and then last second like getting into like the train and basically that way like a journey itself like beginning for like a new journey itself like beginning for like the prior of like Rowan Wednesday as well as like as well as like the kind of from that point of view, like even the corporate scenario that I become of like I'm president. Okay, so like the limit during the film that is putting on those that need that like Mofisha would be pretty well fully aware that like Wednesday at present to have visions exactly like Mofisha. Uh might be the case of premium remission so definitely that surplus thing that like Mofisha had given with like the W and that Mofisha had given Wednesday like definitely easily containing that absolute power. Just like Mofisha might have wanted that Wednesday to like figure out on uh as like basically while which would be allowing the state to like, consciously and using her will to be able to actually vision rather than in an uncontrolled manner and like and while holding that symbol with like the end on top like everything like when say that way eventually being able to like access like the past vision of like North Asia all the way back from like the that African might have seen had seen in like during her never known phase of like of North Asian like given this like no as well as like while holding that circular thing in like the W on top, like and like Wednesday might be able to like see like visions that Wednesday might don't see at present. But like I'm looking like for it to like work like I'm looking maybe Wednesday might the requirement might be only for like Wednesday to be holding on to that circular symbol alone, but like Wednesday might also have to like hold on to a person who's like vision like that which like Wednesday might want to see connected to that person might be like the case like also like about to give that right. So definitely this is like even in the case of like Wednesday's product as well as like Wednesday's position of like the whole man with like it happens as well that is he since it was during like uh a contact that like Wednesday had seen like when that like, contact might be necessary not just with that circle of symbol but also with like that person connected to whom like visually like when time might form like intimacy might be also the case definitely mentioned. So like definitely even while holding like the circular object in like with like the amount of like Wednesday at like some situation might want to like see any sort of like situation like even if through like will still for like the state to be like actually like any sort of situations like connected to like more features like student days at like never on the past like Wednesday might have like that requirement of like basically having to like having to make contact with like Weems, since like Weems as well as like student of like never walk exactly that well along like movie. So like either that or like Wednesday might have like make contact like uh with like Mafisha or like Thomas for like Wednesday to be able to like access like the questions of like from like back when like Mafisha and means to have like student at like never might be like the case definitely might be so sort of me my experience right now that like back when like most teacher was like a student and like never more back then like official best friend might have been Rowan's mother might be like a so it's now already revealed that is the Monica had like the vision kind of like power as well as it being already revealed that like Rowan's like mother had like seer powers as well. The player will bring that Star might have been like that common factor like tying them together like Rowan's like mother as well as like Wednesday's mother, which might have broken closer and might have like back then like white like from some of them as well as more featured during like their student days and like never more might have initially met each other and like never more they them both might have had like situation where like them both might have not been able to they might have had like in an uncontrolled manner like situations like popping up at times exactly like the situation of Wednesday but like during like that initially like they might have managed to worked on their vision and might have managed to that only access that vision by their will and might have figured like the necessary conditions for them to be able to like even will to be here like see vision and everything before they might have graduated from that never more. Might have been also the case of name of the ambition for the belief that way like I'm referring exactly like the suffer with like W and M like so referring like there might have been also two possibilities. There might have been also another separate circular object with like M as well as like another letter. And that sub letter would be like the first letter of like the name of like a known person, which definitely which like the best friend of Malaysia as well as like on mother during they might have always to eventually so the problem in like never might have close to like feelings might willfully might have been that one the case like one of that the other person that I'm looking for like the Owen slash mother name as well might be first letter of that own mother's name as well might be starting with that subject like the also the variable. That way it might be like the very same some kind of object between like the two friends like Mofisha as well as their own mother might have used back during like the student days that like Mofisha might have and present given to like Wednesday before leaving Wednesday at like never at present might be like again certainly not very ambitious. So definitely that way like noting that still things like Wednesday's name as well like start with like a W and there's a reason Wednesday as well as like the power of like and like Wednesday might hopefully be able to like use that way the same stuff might be also the way you might have correct and definitely that might have been like not eventually Wednesday to be able to like things that might have been like legal that concept intent that what which I might have given that trust and I think to Wednesday as well might be the case of human. So like the minimum emission right now that is made of in Weems and her sibling that was the emission like keyboard as well as that counting maybe Weems sibling then it might be them three that might have showed up to that whole crime scene connecting to like around and might have saved around saved Ron's life might have been the case with minimum experiences. So the trio of that Weems keyboard as well as that Don Hill might have every showed up to that location while Wednesday up informing Bianca. Wednesday might have run away from there and might have came to the festival and might have told Bianca to inform like the police and Wednesday might have been staying at that exact location at like the festival to be worried and like so he patiently waiting for Bianca to return after like making the call. Then it might have been like the case the minimum frame rate. So definitely during that point like I'm super Wednesday might have been also maybe talking to that Tyler at that point at the festival as well. Might have been like the case the connection between this time might have been when that Bianca after like phoning and telling Queen first about like the whole situation like and something like what might have happened might have been Queen might have also been seen the whole situation as like an opportunity and like and from that instead of straight away totally framing Wednesday as like that concept behind the behind like the law of like points so different things might have due to Wednesday to be with some visions language we are revealing to things about the actual situation and that means might have prioritize that first to totally have that frame Wednesday as like the person to who desperately wants to be a seer, a pop-up seer. So that way Wednesday being an intentional person, he delusional things that haven't happened yet, like when they uh, up like realize that like a delusion like that Wednesday like eventually try attempting to like, turn that into like a reality by committing crimes and basically that way to like trick everyone into thinking Wednesday is like a powerful figure and really that way to like eventually falsely frame Wednesday and like totally prevent like the public from finding out that like Wednesday's like mission power is like changing that this like we might have prioritized as like a top priority at that point. So like we would like before to do it on like what teams might have developed might have been teams might have straight away after like giving the end cup like or like teams might have straight away for that up to make that inward as well as like don't get to make that way, but that while it might have been not just being but around letting like don't hit as well as that symbol that might have was sort of thing that the time thing at that point I'm not thinking about they might have done might have been like the intent might have been to like totally hide like the body of like Rowan and that way to totally and like the evidence of like the crime and that way to like make uh Wednesdays that claim that probably appear as if that as like using to everyone like never know as well as like to like the show. But like I'm like their job not separate might have been them probably finding like own skill and might be the so like so probably even increase like the intensity of like that effect of like that feeling that with like of like the different numbers and like they might also like save a role. So like I might have been either using like an error plan like powers of like phone or like and it might be like the material unreal powers of like inbox with which like they might have quickly not only save that amount like but like the value injured one like but also might down like hit like the injury on that one might have been what might have happened definitely not fully healed like the injury on that one uh, might have been them that might have done that with the claimant with them then like I'm sure still like just realistic plans of like being and of buildings might have been full and actually that what they might have done as part of like the realistic plans might have been like they might have assured like Rowan at that point. They might have had like private interactions like Rowan. So like the moment they might have seen Rowan like at that point in terms of like Rowan might have frustratingly went out that basically that it has to like totally bring down Wednesday. And like things might have went on about like the like mothers like is to bring down like something to like bring down Wednesday. And so like at that point this one like straight away like what might have happened might have been straight away like he might have set policy at that point in front of like being as well as like the first man of in front of like being song as well as like before. So like at that point itself come to different like them or talking hearing these words of like how like they might out of the straight away that change like into like the transform form of like we might have straight away transform into other like werewolf form as well as Thornhill might have transformed displayed something like plant power she might be having and like important well might have displayed her powers as well. So like these three like engine that powers that they might have displayed in front of like Rowan and might have told Rowan that basically Rowan by himself like the possibility of like Rowan by himself being able to like bring down when he said will be like far less and like instead of like on himself trying to like bring down Wednesday like on should like let them bring down Wednesday because like definitely at that point like Weems might have like Rowan might be aware that like Weems and like Rowan's mother might have been students in like the past. So it's like one positive of like Weems herself might have told Rowan that basically that like mother was like being like student and her best friend like along the lines like being like at that point might have lied to like Rowan and like we so the particular like might have even at that point lied to like Rowan by telling Rowan like basically that like Rowan loss of like was like parents was like due to like the Adams family basically it was like we might have lied and Rowan into telling Rowan that basically it was like Wednesday that that had like taken out like Rowan's father and it was like Wednesday's mother or picture that had in that house like taken out like own like mother. Maybe along the lines like we might have realistically lied and tricked Rowan. So like roughly like but after displaying the powers like and like then might have told Rowan that basically that was mother was the different and basically so definitely they plan on like having the by bringing down more events they were like the entire of like them family. So definitely so that in order to do that like everyone has to like listen to them and basically do exactly as like they felt on the along the line like they might have done also like that way they might have the mysterious powers of like Skinbot as well as that Thornhill that might be how that they might have quickly get rid of all the evidence in that crime scene and basically might have told Rowan to that so along with Jack Skinbot might have been got in the fact of the uh, that much might have happened. And like as part of that secret plan, like and like Weems might have thought on that basically that Weems is going to like soon expel Rowan. But like Rowan doesn't have to worry because like Weems and her like siblings will be putting about that afterwards. But you know, like no events time, but like in that different and family would be along the lines of like that assurance that Weems might have given and in order to have that happen, like Rowan has to like get expelled. Which has to like expel Rowan might be along the lines like we might have told Rowan. Might be what might have happened with no penetrations. Might be the reason for like Rowan who had revealed to like Winston that like his like current ultimate goal is to like bring down Wednesday like that very same Rowan like basically at present like not at all getting against his like present situation of that in Rowan is straight away getting expelled from that and never more without any valid reason like basically like Rowan with very same Rowan being totally okay with that and basically with that especially with like games right now totally revealing that like Rowan should be leaving this happening like, so that it might be that basically quality will be like and basically even after like the crime in front of well like Rowan that could be running back to like not in front of like when stated that episode twice might have but might be solely due to like those like private interaction between like Rowan and Vince and her siblings might have happened where like Rowan might have felt that absolute confidence and he might have felt that possibly felt that absolute faith in like might be placing that absolute faith in like Queensland of this being able to like bring down Wednesday. Might be the case that the members when in actuality that Queen and her siblings like actual realistic plan might be definitely in the name of like basically expelling by expelling like phones like they might be actually planning on eventually when phone will be on the way to the next station at that point for them to like totally or like being by herself you know to like totally in her like werewolf form to like totally attack and take off launch and that way put that frame of like uh, the sudden loss of like on like basically on Wednesday to like once again falsely frame Wednesday into like making everyone think that like Wednesday so just as the pressure think that Wednesday is like something like so desperately starting to be like the fear that basically that like Wednesday is going through and a delusional person that goes through the extreme to like make then put up then into like a reality in the through anything fine will be along the lines like that way to like only frame Wednesday and to like to make Wednesday's like vision power like look like at all one thing in front of like the public and in front of like, the system. And that way for like Wednesday's like vision to like the things that Wednesday will be seeing to open vision to like those things like validity in front of like the system and that what like would be what like Queens will be right now present would be translating and voting against like Wednesday and for points right now. It's like living the scenario that here's a map of name of the friend right now that like the actual situation might be that around right now in that Robert and like about which like around would be one that I have no idea at all. It's just remember the might be the reason for like response to something that is trying like the car and taking on to like the station and definitely I'm for like someone say definitely as part of like the secret domestic plan between like things Sonic and Kimber which might be like to totally want the like very trip to take a Rowan to appearing to take a Rowan to lack of the train station in midway on that trip itself to lack of take out the Rowan might be like the realistic plan. So like definitely able to bring like downhill, definitely able to bring like of course driving like the car extremely slow so that like it becomes like and this definitely afternoon that is the like the uh, that they are taking the downhill like taking from doing like taking like the clear looking like downhill okay driving like the car slow as well as like really there might be just like some distance to like take that lead to easily have like the scenario and start time as much as possible for like conflict so that like anything along the journey that it turns tough so that like basically at that point so that as you said so like content to like probably realistically probably bring out a powers and basically attempt to like bring out a powers and like to take out like on might be like a realistic plan of like being thing was it might be like a minimum and that is a perspective in the scenario that I'm but like solely due to that thing right now like steadily getting into like the car in which like a point and like I'm current that so it's the factor in like anything like the eventual scenario where like I'm probably putting like wanted complete and that makes that betrayal and like basically on for and then like attempting using some like plan for like Chan theory and then just like plan out like launch it attempting to like take out like Rowan but like at that point I'm just like saying like and think like it's like absolute that's to like stop like the powerful attack plan based attacks of like monsters. That's like the scenario that way like a fight between Sting and like Tony like always happening to like thing that way to is like absolute best to like protect points like into that everything. But like Tony it's always great difficulty like will be entirely offering and badly injuring and specific thing is like the scenario that consider still things would be surviving but like would be badly injured and like getting to like a side like kind of like situation. So like at that point I'm looking like mounting like probably using her wine balls like only attacking and like her own at that point would be desperately by the mail that will be running and trying to like escape from that conflict. So like by the time Thompson will be catching up to that point and will be about to take out that on that and bring that at that very last second is when I'm discovering that for like the team of that Tyler as well as that Wednesday that was he make it to that location. It's like the scenario that I'm making. And yet, like all this like scenario I'm referring is like definitely happening in like the forest, like midway, like I'm referring like not in like totally like definitely will be prioritizing still as well like the plan. So like definitely like without point finding out that it's like the content that like trying to like take out from like content that's like like the scenario that I'm referring for like totally content as part of it the plan like totally sitting on that absolute big acting as like the car has broken down or something and basically like that way like so it's not fake acting like I'm like on somehow managing to like your to like your over to like another location like close to like the process like person out that I'm the so that from there like I'm like downhill like totally like telling Rowan that like she's like I'm going to have to be maybe like a set of like something and like going into like set while telling Rowan that like she's going to like set out if like the if, like she could like go make a sleep if she find something to like quickly fix the car or something and basically that will like content like probably going in hiding and basically content like going into like the box and basically content of the bot that might be most likely like transform herself into like an unrecognizable plan monster kind of like a transformation like content might be only able to you have fast to transform as that way to that hide stuff identity. And basically then like content most likely like hiding that cost and like nothing to her plan based house to like send wines to like totally like that way like totally unexpectedly like around he's getting pulled by the wines deep into like the cost and then that they are like an like Paul will be about to take out Rowan and like the whole fight between that thing and that song of that happening. Those are the man like scenarios that I'm looking for and like definitely I'm discovering that while this whole thing with the traveling into definitely I'm still in the man of the for like definitely actually say that like showing up and like fighting that plan with me that fight between like say the like the monster of failure and like the planet of like totally resulting in like being possible for like around best state to like save and escape to like around uh, and along the way maybe like then finding kind of my sure points and the whole stuff while trying to like escape and like that way Tyler taking them to like brain saving like the problem scenario that I'm looking at today. Okay, so that is right now that basically about we will definitely won't be having just like single telekinesis powers alone. That no one definitely won't be having that any other powers like shape shifting transformation powers or anything like that at all. definitely the friends. So like definitely that Rowan stuff about the bringing like the community probably hiding in that toilet, and then to bring like that old man stepping out would be most likely definitely not Rowan. It's definitely not the but would be most likely according to like the plans of that between and like wanted to that state of thing and that so that following the about this like definitely that Weems might have only seen Weems of like content by now might have only seen definitely not correct. Most likely it might be Weems from like the window at like the top like the Nevermore building might have been like well up like towards up starting and spying of that Wednesday might have clearly seen that thing the hand thing like climb onto like the car and they might also mention as for like how we might have even found out about that the person's thing might have been also through in its similar like being systems to the American like in its similar might be like the lot of black wheels black and black wings precisely ensuring that like any similar when they have in similar as of like might have been the belief that like upper like wings already go have strategy even giving support to in its similar to like report about like everything about like everything about like Wednesday while being the roommate uh, and like that way like it might be through anything like that like we might have found out about like the hand front of the Wednesday thing which the name as brand. So like luckily we might have seen thing the hand thing flying on to like the car and like those things might have only straight away gone hill and might have straight away told gone hill about like things totally being present in like the car. So like definitely that that surprisingly that gone hill might have been that on the day to like the station like the late gone hill might have called out for like some for like a friend for the friend of like the content and might have told him to like to like the station and to be present in the like so and basically like content might have also told him like Rowan husband about like Wednesday's like friend with like hand by the thing like only following them and spying on Owen. So definitely to change thing of like basically for like Owen. So it might be content that might not go Owen to like 40 on rating like station to like go up to the to this like exact restaurant like this like exact location to end up in it and basically so that like uh he will be able to Owen will be able to like shake off like spike like thing. This would be absolutely necessary for like according to this like promising like the win along with like content as an import might have made the like false promise that they might have made to like to like totally bring down Wednesday like not for them to be possible like definitely uh like once not really it's like expel but like definitely to the as like shape of things as well and usually to be able to like not only have to like not to speak to that Wednesday game at all, or even reveal anything about like that situation that during that trying incident and everything to Wednesday at all. Might get on the line something like the what like games might not go to that and that point might get present point accordingly the implement and that for going to that make it to boarding the train and leave it without like Wednesday being able to track him down might be uh, like absolute importance and might be along the lines like we might also found and for that to be possible like basically uh like things might also point to do exactly accordingly and like that would be what would be happening right now with like the thing so that they don't transition of that the whole man in like the from like definitely might definitely be like content or like changes that friend active powers might be definitely to like turn a person invisible temporarily for like a few minutes that can like you might have such power. It's definitely not different. So like what might have happened might have been like the moment like Owen had entered into that system that can like he might have only turn Rowan along with Rowan's like soldiers as well, invisible into such a temporary invisible state might have been what will happen definitely. So that definitely and then he might have stepped out of like the old man might have stepped out of like the room while being while Rowan along with like the soldiers might have instantly following him in their temporary invisible kind of state, which like thing might have only might have been what may have happened to the human brain. So like while fitting like the restroom like I'm doing right now, me thing not at all finding on at all like scenario that I'm difficult to predict and my taking the representation for like the case of like around like in like when she was like student like and like while she had started like developing powers like and then different like compared to like movies or like the movies power of next vision might have been exactly similar to that of that Wednesday um might have been different in the case of like Rowan's like mother like in the case of like Rowan's mother like it might be actual vision like that she would be seeing but like uh, rather than visually seeing like seeing and having visions like I mean like one like or like mother might have been such a case that like she might have been already skilled at like drawing so like for her like and like the thing could be straight away happening through the movements of her hands and they make her like straight away in an extremely speedy manner like being able to like throw out her visions rather than visually being able to like see the might be around the line how that the sheer powers of that Ron's mother might have been supplemental basis. So like yet like Ron's mother might have been extremely kind and innocent naive campus but might have been like supplemental. So like definitely sort of able to bring that while Motisha might have joined that never like Motisha might have definitely uh, seeing how that might have been only with like Ron's mother alone that might have been like only student that is from that Motisha might have been like the closest with and might have been related to like the most due to like the similarity in like the power and might have been like the definitely at times like in different levels Motisha as well as that. Uh, plus that once month of might have been having that reason to that. And that definitely initially I'm just definitely that been at the level aspect. So back then might have been that Vince that boyfriend like at the island pole. So that the clear of like Vincent and that might have been made fun of that these like visions of that as well as like uh, uh, on like the fact that it might have been like the case that when there might have also might have been like the case that never there. So like things might have been look pattern and that way like it's really the kind of like and might have definitely not so believe in like them having that vision of like active power and like eventually definitely that we usually that one of that the vision that owns one of might have thrown out might have been like connected to that favorite untold mind here that Wednesday. Way before it might have happened to anyone credit. So that and like definitely that might have only interested that owns that mother and a move and that she like a student that we might have something so that he like wins and like at the end like they might have as you said might have only might have not got taken like one like one of and for like your for instance like if that or might have been one like something something yeah like I mean like eventually as like they all from the crew never got like eventually might have been a year that the control point is like when they might have happened while around the time while working there so you know them tell us that we well as that and might have been close to like a their graduation so they might to like around that time while Mafija as well as like might have been planning on like executing that crime control crime case that they maybe during then that like they might have watching the living for like just like amounts of like around not bad and definitely not different. So like that might have definitely uh better next time that but it does as well as like you some people for realization that basically that like around like models like patents are actually coming real and basically that are not responsible for like they're actually the real future from actually they along the lines of like an even realize that like that it does as well as like we might have had and like it does as well as like we might have casually like to put our friendship to like basically asking like the naive and innocent actions not talking about like stuff like for like future prediction on like from both and basically they might have got easily take a look at or and might have analyzed all those like past drawings and might have on careful analysis might have been able to like figure out like basically like each and every single drawing containing source within it. and each of those drawings of that promotion of mother that might have been mainly by SharePoint might have ended up mainly focused on things that sit between Weems as well as between Weems as well as some point at the fact and might have been that the secret they are basically might have been mainly focal point of all those conventions by SharePoint might have been the case. So it might have been secret that Weems as well as and the alone might have known about which neither Motley know about Rowan's mother might be even aware of that they might have probably seen in those previous promotion drawings of around in that those might have been or might have happened collectively Edgar as well as Edgar as well as mother might have gotten shocked and parents they might have till that and might have probably pretended to continue their fate at not their friendship and might have told that might have put on that fake acting as if we are great friends with mother and might have told us to keep continuing on sending every time she will be has a conversation to them basically even after graduation you'll be enough time that they might have made up promise to definitely my friend. So definitely at that point for the foreign self around it might have been feeling as if she had gotten that absolute validation at least by somewhat other than official for her good in that thing. Might have been the case. So she might have been totally happy and so even after graduating she might have been keeping on sending her promotion about the use of such points to each and everything different times to might have been the case depending on so the problem demonstrated after around numbers convention drawing of wet layers for when that was never warm in after that and after she had graduated she might have not had as many visits as she had until that point. It's definitely much temperature. So eventually what might have happened might have been that way her mind might have been filled with what comes after basically that mysterious girl basically destroys and threatening and the full story tender kind of more kind of situations definitely considering people then so essentially it might have been due to this time period where around might have been filled with the field of the what comes after that in that one the ones throwing it open up totally telling around that it's a destiny to save them and sending around or to join at make more and everything might have been what might have happened to so definitely after this I'm becoming eventually finally after a great delay she might have had another promotion and that promotion drawing might have after drawing once Ron's mother might have looked at that from she herself might not have been don't have to do my job because implement that final drawing might promotion drawing might have been that shocking realization for Ron's mother that girl too she had many others about her threatening to they such a threat to and to his voice then get never more that just was actually to say that and so in that final drawing it might have been that principle the user was principle never more and upset those who are the true villain might be along the lines of that after shocking realization that made us happen to role mother. And at that point, she might have finally came down to the conclusion realization that that principle in promotion going to actually swing because by then she might have been might have been the case and in the drawing as well she might have finally noticed that similarity between being how being in that point as well as the how the gap from the index that might have been the case the given frame. And the final that final drawing it might have been also such a drawing where when it stays on me to see the third in that drawing would be revealing the truth behind unsolved this unsolved case uh, is definitely going to today. So it will be more connecting at that point in that so that final drawing of someone can point out about not of that is totally realizing that is that unsolved from the past was actually committed by Edgar and Weems can be along the lines of like realization that will be happening to homes like Mother and like Gomez was like what it was like totally targeted by Weems and Edgar and that Gomez had totally been trying to like save Fisher. All this like realization kind of like a scenario what I'm missing something like happening to that Owen's mother, and at that point, like Owen's mother might have been like absolutely tuning the black priest and like Christian and conscience to that has to race towards like being helpful as like Edgar by then, and that she might have straight away uh, not even that talk about that the safety of that son. Owen since at that point might have been studying at like them, and instead like she might have straight away like in an impulsive manner, might have straight away picked up the phone and might have called kind of straight away called James and Midas for straight away for the and end up out on like the villains and like the multiple crimes that they have already committed and like the crimes they are about to commit in like this is like an extremely race and like a like might have threatened them and like might have straight away told them about like they have straight away heading off to like to involve like the sheriff and the to get them put behind the and to get like the as well as like and and get put behind that along the lines like she might have boldly told them that like to have it but like I'm saying like at that point what like things might have been like things might have straight away like from at the random delivering like a person like definitely like how much and how much even in like the person like even like the bare name itself of like Edgar like excited like it's in definitely Edgar Instagram that person might be like a total celebrity like for the figure single of the figure definitely and even back then, that's why homes like Mother Might have means like even at that point that when the communication that there might have already made it to the great level of that thing and might be like against the new level. So that we might have at that point of like after like phone model for it like means might have straight away quickly uh, phone header and like at the might have straight away incentive like and feel that probably take out then I'm just to like take out how this might be how that that might have taken definitely my language. So that final drawing like just like as well like and that it might have specifically ensured to like mention to that to that to that definitely ensure to that seize it and bring it to like get it to like so this might have already happened. So like that way like in the what might have happened might have been like that final drawing that after taking out like on like in that final drawing uh final convention drawing as well. Uh that would the final convention drawing of that convention that might have been what might have already gone stone, definitely not French so and definitely along with like all the other previous drawings convention drawing of like convention like in that we might have stored it for in the like secret like small kind of like a library which might be open through a secret store connected to uh, the the like home in like next one like something like there like there might be a secret door connected to that home where like library will be uh, and secret library will be where like all the homes so far of like homes like not maybe just it's definitely my decision. So definitely yeah like even to like for like for when like I'm like like even like the final word that like phone mother might have so to that phone about like never know like and because like you might be totally having that absolute good interest connected to beings definitely might be the case definitely not really like until that point like even like the last thing that last time that might have mentioned about like beings to that one that he might have generally had like had going to the about like things without realizing that the total corruption and the elastic side of that neither things and that might be that the actual so that way that way I'm looking that Rowan might have not at all had it might have definitely not percent like it might have been definitely a vision that like Rowan had like especially recently like Rowan's mother had like. vision powers like that need Rowan as well, like in that sense, Rowan as well might have inherited that vision power, and that definitely it might be through that accidental kind of lack of vision happening to Rowan, which might have resulted in lack of realizing where exactly at nevermore just book uh, book containing the drawing prediction which not had during during stage presented within nevermore. And not up to the point that was involved in and that might have the new Catholic report about if the all manner of having this luxury done by the Queen whom basically have been flexible to conversation and whom even while back when even in the past while students around might have separated by to convince and about uh, vision power and neither husband nor woman might have even taken up seriously. At that point might have been might be that then that maybe around mother might have told them about upgrade from companies who the really takes work seriously and for instance going seriously and people see always send up for instance might be along the lines going something system about might have for to or the cleaner thing. So that way that lead only for instance drawing collection of around some of being present at never most likely at the home of means uh, that might have not caused any sort of just leave it within around in that case something might have been also the case. So definitely my perception of it might have been just by sheer coincidence alone that the exact book that Owen had basically taken that exact single book only a single book alone that Owen might have checked from that library secret library of might have been the case and that exact book seeing that exact book were uh, that that so in which through the drawing that is picturized picturizing Wednesday has such a winner's gap it really Owen might have only seen that single check only that single book alone and this selection as well might have been and might have ended up being that exact book alone by SharePoint framework might have been one of the so the way representation about in that secret library of thing unfortunately there might be a part of for the user and drawing so far wrong by around number there might be the even the drawing of Wednesday joining that kind of and from that point to the present so far in the journey of and the progress and journey of Wednesday after joining evermore to the present and the multiple incidents that have taken place until this point might be totally already might have been picturized uh, as drawing in in multiple books that may be put in that secret library of that team, which neither Rowan might have not even seen at all. Even though person might be a achievement there. So which still definitely putting eventually for Wednesday will definitely see the scenario so the game different Wednesday eventually finding out about their existing secret library within never more of things. Basically, eventually in the bigger and project in Wednesday, finally making it to and accessing being able to still access that library and so and at that point is when I was Wednesday so often seeing multiple books and as Wednesday only going through those books one by one Wednesday so often seeing all the incidents that has happened in Wednesday life after joining nevermore until that point basically they already thrown into those multiple books which would be at that point Wednesday will be seen as book of from Morrison drawing books by from 25 years back in the past. So definitely that's a shocking scenario for Wednesday happening at that point. This scenario that happened. So at that point I'm going also for scenario to be Wednesday checking all those books one by one and basically seeing that already different drawings of the journey of Wednesday joining until that point. and like Ambudman at that point, like when they about to take the very next book as well. And like there will be a greater number of like books remaining for like Wednesday to read, which will be containing the crucial information of like Wednesday's like future as to like what's about to happen in like Wednesday's journey and progress up ahead uh, at like more what was the fate and everything that lies ahead for like Wednesday up ahead. That will be all contained in those great number of other sets of left books that is in there respectively. So like Wednesday will be about the same scenario to be like Wednesday about to take the next book, which will be containing like the future activities of like Wednesday. But which like Wednesday can like as already ago. But like right before like Wednesday will be checking that book like like Wednesday deciding not to like check the book and actually the Wednesday will be only at that point feeling that basically that will be probably ruining like the fun of like the entire adventure and like the mystery and like the investigation and like the solving of all like puzzles that it could be around the line like Wednesday will be feeling. So like definitely Wednesday at that point in an absolutely confident and man of like deciding to like not check anymore book at all and basically for like Wednesday using her own skills and like community and everything to like solve all the obstacles ahead herself and basically maybe with like the help of her friend husband and basically for her to like throw out her own space using her own efforts will be along the lines and delivering that Wednesday eventually coming down to like for us to like achieve both of our efforts uh, without checking like the future will be along the lines of never find and this is just that like Wednesday will get that thing take and that way that Wednesday like we leaving that like without checking like the remaining of like Wednesday like the that I'm doing the right example while Queens will be thoroughly going through each and every single one of what would have already gone through each and every single one of like those connecting to that means and then say and all the future and like future like and means even to the person who will have that absolute fear within her because what that means most likely having gone through all this like supplements and so like at each step out like even like basically when stay we join more on that but it might be all returning that promotion on like in that things would be lack of lack to be feeling absolutely taken stressed out they would like witnessing that no matter all the efforts that like we along with the siblings would be plotting and like strategizing and domestically doing against like they like things would be still each and every single day like of Black Wednesday's journey, as well as like the impact of siblings journey in Black Nevermore after like since like Nevermore since Black Wednesday's journey Nevermore might be going exactly according to like the promotion norms in like the book might be the case regardless of how much effort like in terms of things will be putting into like trying to like change up like the uh change the like the situation in their life from like the from like the book that still eventually things will be spiraling into like the situation and everything that ending up being exactly like how it was like printed in like the book might be like the activity of situation might be right now and person might be going definitely might and that will be totally getting being explained the stuff because like we might not only read like entire gift like the book and what would be lying away for like means as like that absolute final future and scenario for like kids and family like siblings and the um would be would be not only like the destruction of like the industry of like never more but also like then cause like basically like all of their fullness of and like realistic history and everything that they have done all the crimes that they have done like it's all getting exposed into other themselves like the world and like that way like that all getting put behind stars and then moving and put behind stars along with like a as well would be that would be what like the final point content in like the final point sees like the game so like that would be that seen as like that absolute incoming like final with the scenario uh, about which like definitely wins as well as like as well as all of them might be even to like they might be totally deep down stressed out and would be dead every single day will be doing their absolute maximum to like at least to like to have at least that one of like the promotion in like the promotion points in like the books so far to have to turn up from at least from their effort, but like no matter what they will be doing, like the scenario will be always ending up with like the Thomas index, the Thomas index is always thinking of the that exactly right, exactly like how that the situation like the lives of like all of that would be happening after like once they join. Might be like that with your setup of the yes, so like looking at right now that like we might be an absolute might have like an absolute mastery over like shape shifting might be like the level of powers of like being so like like we might not be able to like shift it from like to like different forms of like humans alone, but like we might be sort of able to like shift it into like not really but like all kinds of things that like, might be and that the level of powers of like we might be like that with the computation that we can go and the clear temperature right now that uh, savior might be actually in his son might be like a yes human. So like sort of for instance that like it might have definitely Weems aspect that might have cleaned up that evidence in that crime scene of that going uh, definitely might not get so definitely lack might have been definitely for like Weems to lack of while simultaneously saving her son savior like for like Weems to also definitely like do not mislead like the uh, shark uh, away from that wing is like healthy like plant to like eventually have like the like all these like multiple terrains like which like that is suspected to be done by like this like mysterious monster like or that to like eventually fall on but like that are ultimate culprit like uh, for like them state as well to like get framed might be definitely what like games would be wanting. So like definitely that after like savior like definitely that one that attack Owen might have been definitely actually savior and like the fact that like savior having like uh monster shape fitting power as well and that might be one thing that like we might get okay aware of. So we also mentioned yeah, so and that way so savior as well as that anything that fundamental thing might do to bring strength to the playing of it. So definitely savior like sort of I'm preferring like even like like savior and like in Rowan. So definitely I'm preferring like right now in the question that like Rowan might be no more. Definitely I'm doing that Rowan might be no more. So definitely uh, and even if that injury caused by savior on or it is like attack like I'm preferring like the injury mark pattern might be completely different. So like definitely that the shark finds like the body, then like the shark might be like the situation might have been like such that like shark might be easily able to like figure out that there are multiple monsters. So like that would be like the last thing that means to be body to like have like the shark's like suspicion towards like Wednesday the bottom and basically to that try away from that Wednesday to that monsters that to have that separation between that Wednesday and like the monster uh, and the self to that thing that what I have like so it's not like the monster to be not just alone and away from that Wednesday really like the last thing we really wanted to like need to like really frame Wednesday as like a shape shifting monster and like the culprit behind the crime figure at least Wins' plan and this might be also the main reason for like Wins from the cleaning up like the evidence also like what might have been that favor that might have been like the most of that might have checked and taken out that so it might have been what might have happened. So certainly might have been so like showing that this remote that favor development in Sinclair might be like the children of that being as well as like that might be like the case and it might be the reason for like being even carefully staring from like the windows while Wednesday, like Savior was like working on like shooting that arrow. Okay, so the new residential right now, especially for like Wednesday, right now, like totally fine. A broken piece of like the glass of like or the like containing the state. So step one was to do that I'm doing or like the entire glass of like that in the cloud of that or that basically was like a part of white cleaning that evidence like what the like we might out in the bottom uh might out of witness to like clear that one out so like put like an entire class of or while like that monster attack or like and bring like that class might have like been sent flying to like a nearby area in that like that train scene. So which like definitely games might have that game. definitely what might have happened. Definitely not for me. So like this is like the scenario that I'm like right now for like while checking like the friends that like they find a piece of like glass or like vendor glass of like that state, and then like I'm different like instead of thinking about like basically using that to possibly let maybe check like the blood type in that of like that blood stain in that blood, and basically to see if it matches to like the blood type of like or that would be the next step that I'm trying to figure out a way to like basically find like uh, blood type and basically to see if like the blood stain in like the blood like matches with that like the even possible scenario that I'm going to I'm not prepared.